There are some stories that begin with a scream, but this one started with a knock. It was January. The kind of cold that sits still in the air as if the world itself has paused. Brian, 25 years old, working nights at a local warehouse, had just returned to his small trailer home in Abilene, Texas. The heater was humming, the sky was overcast, and the silence was thick enough to notice. Then it came. A soft, rhythmic knock on the front window. Not the door. The window. He checked the clock. 1:12 a.m. Strange. No one should be outside. Not here. Not now. He pulled the curtain aside carefully. Standing there, barely lit by the porch light, were two children. A boy and a girl, no older than 10, dressed in old-fashioned clothing, pale skin, still, expressionless. They didn't look at him at first, just stood there, until the boy lifted his face and spoke. "We need to use your phone," he said. "Please let us in." Brian's heart slowed. Something was off, terribly off. The way they spoke was flat, emotionless. The words sounded rehearsed, like lines from a school play. Then he noticed something else, something he would never forget. Their eyes. They were entirely black. No whites, no irises, just deep, empty darkness. He stepped back from the window, breathing shallow. He didn't know why, but everything inside him screamed not to open the door. The boy knocked again. "Please, we need your help." The girl hadn't moved at all. Brian's phone on the counter lit up for no reason. No call, no message, just the screen turning on. Then the lights flickered, once, twice, and when he looked back at the window, they were gone. No footsteps, no goodbye, just gone. Brian locked every window and door, turned off the lights, and sat in silence until morning. He told no one, at least not yet, because a week later, someone else saw them too. But this time, it wasn't a knock. It was a child standing alone by the roadside at 2:17 a.m., just staring. Officer Jennings had just finished his night patrol when he noticed the figure, a small boy, wearing a hoodie 2 sizes too large, standing motionless under a flickering streetlight near an abandoned gas station. At first, he thought it was a runaway. But as he slowed down and rolled down the window, the boy turned to face him. His face was pale, lips slightly parted, and his eyes entirely black. The officer froze. The boy spoke. "I'm waiting for my parents. Can you help me call them?" Jennings stepped out slowly, one hand instinctively resting on his belt. But something in his gut told him this wasn't just a lost child. It felt staged. He gently asked the boy where his parents were. "I don't remember." "Where do you live?" "I don't know." The officer radioed for backup. When he turned back toward the child, he was gone. No footsteps, no sound, no movement, just an empty road. Dashcam footage later confirmed it. The recording showed the boy standing then in the next frame. Nothing, like it blinked out of existence. Jennings filed a report. But no missing child matched the boy's description. No fingerprints, no local witnesses, and no one came forward. That same night, Brian, still shaken from his own encounter, got a phone call. No caller ID, no voicemail. Just a message on his answering machine left at 2:17 a.m. It was a child's voice. "Please let us in." That was the message left on Brian's machine. But it wouldn't be the last time those words were heard. 3 days later, in a quiet town 200 miles away, a woman named Eliza stopped at a 24-hour gas station just before midnight. She was driving back from a conference, exhausted and alone, with miles of empty highway behind her. The station was mostly empty, just one attendant inside and a vending machine humming outside. Eliza parked near the side of the building to stretch her legs and check her phone. And that's when she saw them. 2 children standing near the ice machine. A boy and a girl. They weren't doing anything. A boy and a girl, staring at her car. Eliza felt an immediate chill, though the night wasn't cold. Something about their presence unsettled her deeply. She turned away for a moment to respond to a message, and when she looked back, they were gone. Seconds later, there was a knock on the passenger window. Eliza jumped. The children were standing beside her car now, closer than before. She hadn't heard them move. No footsteps, no voices, nothing. The boy leaned slightly forward. "Can you give us a ride?" His voice was flat, quiet, monotone. The girl just stared, unmoving. Eliza tried to unlock her phone, but the screen refused to respond. Static began to fill her radio, though it wasn't even turned on. Then the boy spoke again. "We can't come in unless you say it's okay." Eliza's hands were trembling. Her keys slipped as she tried to start the engine. By the time she looked up again, they were gone. She drove away without pumping gas. She didn't tell anyone, not even when she got home. But weeks later, she searched online for anything similar. And what she found chilled her to the core. There were others, dozens, maybe more. All with the same description, all with the same words. "We can't come in unless you let us." But the feeling they left behind stayed with her. As if something had looked into her and seen everything. It wasn't fear. It was something deeper, like standing on the edge of a cliff in absolute silence and knowing something was watching from below. Eliza couldn't sleep that night, not because of the memory of their faces, but because every time she closed her eyes, she could still see theirs. Black. Still. Endless. The next day, she went online. She didn't know what to search at first. Children staring at car. Black eyes. Can't enter unless invited. Then she found it. A forum. Old, outdated, barely moderated. But filled with people just like her. Different cities. Different years. Same story. They always came at night. They always asked for permission. And their eyes were like a void. Some said they lost time after meeting them. Others reported electronics shorting out, animals hiding, dreams that didn't feel like dreams. One post stood out. It read, "If you see them, don't speak, don't engage, and never, ever say yes." Eliza leaned back from her screen, and in the reflection for a moment, she thought she saw something standing behind her. But when she turned, there was nothing there. Only the sound of her fridge humming in the dark, and the echo of a memory she hadn't made yet. That line stayed with her for days, like a whisper that never left the walls. 2 weeks later, in a quiet suburb of Portland, Oregon, a man named Caleb moved into a new house. Had just started a new job, recently divorced, and wanted a fresh start. The house was old, but charming wooden floors, creaky stairs, and ivy creeping over the porch rails. But there was something odd about it. Not wrong, just odd. The walls creaked in ways that didn't match the wind. Voices seemed to carry from rooms that were empty. Sometimes he'd walk into the kitchen and feel like he'd interrupted something. On the 4th night, he heard knocking, not on the front door, but inside the house, soft, measured, knocking from behind the walls. He followed the sound to a closet under the stairs. The door was stuck as if something behind it didn't want to be seen. When he finally forced it open, there was nothing inside, just a narrow crawl space, dust, silence. But when he turned around to leave, he noticed something. The front door was now wide open. He hadn't touched it. No breeze, no footsteps, no sound. Then came the voice, a whisper. "We know you're here." He turned, expecting someone to be in the hallway. But it was empty, and on the floor were 2 muddy footprints. Small, bare, child-sized. They were the same footprints Eliza had described, the same ones from dozens of stories, always left behind, never leading anywhere. Caleb didn't sleep that night. Not because of the noise, there wasn't any. It was the silence that kept him awake, as if the house itself was holding its breath. He tried to tell himself it was stress, a new house, new life, new job, but the feeling in his chest said otherwise. The next evening, he placed flour on the floor near the closet, just to prove nothing was there. Nothing would walk across it. But the next morning, there were prints, small, wet, fresh. Again, no way in, no way out. Caleb packed a bag, told himself it was just a weekend trip, but deep down, he knew he wouldn't come back. As he stepped outside, the air felt different, not cold, just watched. Halfway to his car, he stopped. There, under the porch light, stood a boy and a girl, still, silent, and staring right at him. He didn't speak, didn't move. And then, in perfect unison, They said the words one last time, "We can't come in unless you let us." He turned without a word, got into his car, and drove. Past the trees, past the silence, past the part of himself that still wanted answers. He never went back. But even now, years later, he sometimes finds muddy footprints on hotel floors, in rented apartments, on places he's never stepped barefoot in. So if you ever hear a knock and someone asks to come in, you might want to ask yourself, are they lost or have they finally found you?